So, okay, let's move now to how, according to Roman Catholicism in the 1300s, how a person was saved. First of all, there's merit, and this is something that we have to talk about. So, the idea of a worker is worthy of his hire. The Catholic Church said that this is true not only physically in our physical and temporal world, but it actually applies to spiritual work as well. So if I do a good work and I do it for God, God, essentially being the employer now, owes me for that work. This is the mindset. Okay, so he owes
like an agreement of an employment agreement.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Okay, so I do this work and now I get paid for it essentially, and I get paid in spiritual worth. Okay, and so here's a quote for you in the theological
Bitcoin.
Exactly. Spiritual Bitcoin. In the theological sense, a supernatural merit can only be a salutary act to which God is, in consequence of his infallible promise, owes a supernatural reward consisting ultimately in eternal life, which is the beatific vision in heaven. As the main purpose of this article is to vindicate the Catholic doctrine, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here, this is. I'll go off the script a little bit. Here's really what's going on. They say that there is such thing as grace, and what grace is grace is given to the saints and to people like Jesus and Mary. So Mary, since she bore the Son of God, her merit is way more than what she needs. So she goes straight into heaven, and all this extra merit that she's gotten, in other words, payment for the work that she's done, all this extra merit gets put into a huge storehouse.
It's like she won the lottery, like $10 million, but she really only needed $500,000 to live her whole life.
Exactly.
And so there's this huge bank account of extra.
That's exactly right. And so what happens? All this merit, and this happens with the saints too. So, Paul, since he did such a great work in converting all these people, he has all this extra merit. He doesn't actually need all of it, and so all this extra merit goes into a storehouse, and this is called the treasury. I'm not making this up. This is, I've given you links to the Catholic Encyclopedia. This storehouse is called the treasury of the church. The ministry of the church bears with it the power and office of teaching publicly and administering the sacraments according to order, to the power and function of remitting the retaining sins. The former is termed the power of the order, the latter the power of the keys. And basically what they say is that one person has been given the keys to this storehouse of extra merit. And who is that? That's the Pope. The Pope has the keys to the storehouse of extra merit. And so what he does, and this, now we have to talk a little bit about purgatory. Basically, the church teaches that you don't go straight to heaven. You have this checklist, and God's sitting there going, okay, well, you did this, but you had enough merit for this. You did this. Okay, I'm adding all this up, and you actually owe me 150 years. And so during that 150 years, I'm going to throw you into purgatory, which is, hell, essentially. You're going to throw you into purgatory. You're going to work off this extra, and then after the 150 years, now you can come into heaven because you've paid off that debt. And so what Pope Boniface VIII did was, we're coming out of the Crusades. And what the popes did was they said, if you fight in the Crusades, then you have an instant full indulgence. And what that means is that you will spend you get a get out of purgatory free card.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because it's a good deed that you're doing, working for Jerusalem to get the church back into Jerusalem and take over Jerusalem. So you get an instant get out of purgatory free card. And so all these people are going to fight to take over Jerusalem so that they can get out of purgatory. And what does the Pope Boniface VIII say? He says, well, there's people like cripples and, mothers and children who don't have the luxury of going and fighting in these horrific wars, but they still want this get out of jail free card. And so he made a ultimate indulgence for the Jubilee. He declared February 1300 the Jubilee, and he said, if you come to Rome, if you come to one of these two huge cathedrals, and you come every day for 30 days if you live in Rome, and 15 days every day if you live outside of Rome, then you get the same indulgence as if you fought for Jerusalem. And this is what brings in the selling of indulgences. Rob and I appreciate you watching that video. We also would appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can do that by hovering over this round thing right over here and then clicking the subscribe button. You should do that.